Okay, guys. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is to say a big thank you for watching or listening today. Any of you guys listening to this anywhere around the world, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm going to say that it's Liam Hartery back with you today. And I am joined by a very, very special guest. I'm really honored to welcome Enson Inoue to the show. Legendary martial artist, one of the greatest of all time, obviously the Shoto heavyweight champion, UFC finalist, UFC fighter, competed for Pride, owner of the Pure Bread brand as well. This man is an absolute legend in the game. And today we're going to be talking about his life post fighting. We're going to be talking about obviously a little bit of his fighting days as well, how the game has changed, some of what he's doing today as well, teaching and passing on a lot of his knowledge to the next generation, which I think is absolutely incredible because he has a lot to share. So, Ensign, I just want to say a big thank you, brother, and really, really appreciate you making the time for this evening, late in your evening, and after one of your students won as well. So, very, very
Yeah, he
cool,
did
and
good. Yeah.
appreciate it. Really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, we'll talk about your life and everything, but I think given the fact that, you've literally just come away from your student winning, it's literally just happened tonight. So I think that's very cool. Tell us the story of that, please, brother. I think that'll be a cool place to start.
Oh, my student.
Yeah, yes, yes, please.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those kids that I have a whole bunch. Just recently, actually came out, reached out to me on social media in the last couple of years, and they said they wanted to come train under me. It's funny because this certain student is a real heavy guy, and I when he came and asked me if he wanted to train, I thought he was joking. I thought, this guy he's so heavy, he's not serious about training. And I thought, okay, I'll have him over once and he'll probably quit. And I was really surprised because when we had him over to once to train, that kid, he was out of shape, but he pushed. He never complained. He did everything we said and he pushed as hard as he could. It was amazing. So 3 months later, he's still my student.
Wow, that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And by the way, if the signal cuts or anything, I'll just repeat what I said, or if you don't hear anything, just ask me again. But you know what you were saying there about this guy came in and first of all you thought, he'll quit after a session, but he's kept going. I mean, generally, can you tell right away when somebody comes to train with you how well they're going to do, or does it take a little bit of time of like working with them to see how that develops?
Well, for me, it doesn't. Oh, hold on. Gosh, I'm so super sorry. My dogs are doing something. Hold on, man.
No worries.
Hey, hey, come on. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries
Okay, I
at
heard
all.
the question. Yeah,
Okay.
I heard the question, and the answer to the question is, well, my when people come and train with me, it's not about ability or anything. It's just about if they give everything they got. If they try hard, they'll last. So usually in one day, well, my training sessions are usually very hard. You got to push yourself in every training session. So usually in one day, I'll know if the guy will stay or not.
Mm. Okay, so you push them through the limits, yeah. Now, but do you see many people now, many fighters in general, who train with you, or just in general around different gyms, who have the mentality like you used to have? Because obviously you come from a very extreme era, I mean, the game has changed. You come from the most extreme era there is. So, do you see a lot of people now with, that kind of mindset to like absolutely do or die and give it all they've got, or is that a lot rarer these days? If you get like where I'm going.
It's very rare. It's very hard to find. But I have students that have not maybe came to me like that, but have developed it and has that type of mindset now. Nowadays it's very scarce. So yeah, to even have right now I have 10 students I personally look at. I have a whole bunch that my students train, but the ones that I personally take time to look at, there's only 10 of them, and they're all tough. They all can handle. Everything we do here is extreme. And for them to continue, they got to be tough.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love that. So, okay, now you also have gyms on like in all different countries, though, don't you? I mean, I've come across that you have gyms in how many countries is it that you own gyms altogether?
Well, 3 or 4 now, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. You see, passing on the knowledge, next generation. So I wanted to kick things off with that because, like I said, you know, your students just won tonight. It's a great place to start. What's his name so we can keep an eye on him for anyone who's hearing about him for the first time on here?
His name is Buchin, and he's a heavyweight fighter. So yeah, he just won the title actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
awesome.
he's doing good. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Bucci. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on him, and you know, I'll say to our viewers, guys, you heard it here first. If you're hearing about this for the first time, he's one to watch. So, Ensign, let's talk about you. You know, because I've kicked things off with that. But in your career, you achieved a lot. I mean, you achieved so much, and you achieved more than we'll have time to talk about today. I mean, I'm realistic about that. I would love to talk to you about every single fight, but you know, we won't have we'd be here until tomorrow morning. So, you know, we have to narrow it down. And I think one of the best ways to do that, that I sometimes do with people, is to say, well, when you look back on your career now, what are your proudest moments? And I'm sorry, this is a big question because there'll probably be a few of them. But, you know, it's one thing to look at the fights from the outside, but it's another thing to hear from you firsthand what your most special memories are personally from your career. Like I say, you know, big question, but what are your thoughts on that, please?
Well, career wise, the 2 fights that I was really proud of was beating Royce Alger in UFC 13 and beating Randy Couture in the Vale Tudo Japan. So as far as my career, that those 2 fights really catapulted my career, but not necessarily it wasn't one of my most memorable or important fights to me personally. My most important fight to me personally, there was two. There was one with Frank Shamrock, and there was one with Igor Vovchanchi. So those really molded me as a person, made me realize what kind of man I am, and I think I had the most growth as a man through those 2 fights. So those are my probably my two most important.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I've seen them all, but hearing about them firsthand is a whole other thing. Now, yeah, this is something else I really like about you, Anson. I'm trying to think of the way to describe this the right way, but basically, you were very much on an inner journey with fights in terms of like testing yourself and becoming the best version of yourself. And I've seen you speak on an interview. I think it might have been with Chris Lieben or somebody like that. I think it was him, and you were speaking about an incident that happened when you were a young child where there was like bullying or there was something happening, and basically you didn't step in. And obviously, I'm fascinated. Um, and you have to bear with me on this one because it was a few years ago that I heard this, but I remember that story. And obviously, that aspect of like your mindset then to your mindset now, or at least your mindset as a fighter. I'd like to talk about that. But starting off with, do you mind sharing that story again for people listening to this today, please? That one from
Yeah,
when.
I think the story you're talking about is when I think I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I had a boy that was about 4 years older than me would kick the soccer ball around in the park, and I would kind of looked up to him. He was older. He kind of was teaching me how to kick the soccer ball, and we had a good time. And there was a time when he had there were 4 guys coming from his school, which was I think 1 or 2 years older than him, and they came down and they when they were walking towards him and me, I could tell there wasn't anything nice. And when I kind of stepped back and watched what was going to happen, and they came over, they started taunting him, like pushing him around. And of course, that my friend, his name was Danny, but he was like probably like a couple feet taller than me, and these kids were bigger than him. And when I saw it happen, I didn't know what to do. I actually got scared. They started beating him up, and after they beat him up real bad, they walked around the park, found um, what is that? Inu, a dog fetus, and started putting it in his face. And I just stood there and I was frozen because I was scared. I mean, when I saw what they did to him, I thought if I got involved, they would do it to me. And I was afraid of getting hurt. I was afraid of going to the hospital, maybe have broken bones. And so I pretty much just watched it happen. And I remember when it was all over, they laughed, they screamed at him, they laughed at him, and they started walking away, almost like a movie scene where they're walking away in a park laughing. And I saw my friend sitting on the ground, and of course, I looked up to him. So for him, it was like he just got beaten up in front of somebody that looked up to him, and it was a real, kind of made him lose his face towards me. So I went up to him and asked him if he's okay. He just didn't look at me, got up and walked away. And the funny thing about that I, realized today is talking about that story, I have a little churning in my chest that bothers me. It still hurts today thinking that why didn't I help him? I should have helped him. And, the reason why I didn't help him is because of the fear of getting hurt. But I don't care unless I was killed, or even if I was killed, no injury that I could have got would have lasted this long.
Wow. Well, it's very deep, and I share that, by the way, Enson, because it's such a valuable life lesson. Okay, so the reason I call this presenting champions, but it's simply inspired as well, is because I always like to share those kinds of lessons that people can learn from, and people can put into practice in their own life, and that's the reason for bringing that up. Because I was mindful when I mentioned it, that, it's a painful memory. I'm sorry to bring it up in a way, but it's also a valuable learning point. So we then have to talk about the transformation, of course, of how you went from an experience like that of not stepping in there to being an absolute warrior and being, like I said, from the most extreme era, and just the risks that you took as a fighter, the way you fought as a fighter, all of these things is very much a growth process. And I know it wouldn't have been an overnight thing, but I would like to go deeper into the process of conquering that fear, because you speak to a lot of guys and they'll say, well, I didn't have it. But obviously you're saying, well, you did have it, and you had to learn to face it and to beat it. And if you get what I mean with this, sometimes the toughest opponents are inside of ourselves, they're not outside in the world. And I guess that's what I'd like to get some advice of how you did it, but also how other people can beat those inner demons, if that makes sense.
Well, the two things that helped me with that incident was, one, I realized that the pain of letting yourself down by not doing what's right, not protecting the person that you care about, is a lot worse than physical pain or physical injury I could have got. And the other thing I learned was that sometimes doing the right thing isn't the easiest thing, and sometimes doing the right thing is pretty scary. And it carried on through my childhood, where I knew that whatever happened, I had to do what was right. And I don't know, I guess from that birth, I remember once I somebody came to ask for money from in my school, and I was in a intermediate school, which is about, I think it's about 14 or 15. And I gave the money because I was scared of the person. And my dad found out, and my dad told me that if you ever do that again, when you come home, you fight with me. And that's when I started standing up for myself more. And I guess it started the motion on where I wanted to become a strong man. I wanted to become the strongest man I could be before the day I died. And I wanted to be a strong man because I wanted to protect myself and protect the ones that I cared about. And Danny was one of them. I couldn't protect him because I wasn't capable, and I wasn't stronger enough inside to overcome my fears. So that's what happened in the fighting. When the only reason why I wanted to get in the ring wasn't because I wanted to win a championship. It wasn't because I thought I could be rich from it. Because in my day, there was no money, there was no fame. In fact, it was actually illegal in most of the states in the United States. It was considered human cockfighting. There were no sponsors, no television that wanted to touch it. So when I saw the sport, I was friends with the Gracies, and when Rickson Gracie was fighting in Japan and I went to watch, there was this fear and anxiety that I couldn't control. And I felt my whole thing was, well, if I'm watching a friend fight in the ring and I'm losing control, it would be 10 times harder for me to control my emotions being the person in the ring. And that's when I had this whole mission. I got to get in the ring. And I didn't think I was ever going to make it a career. I was thinking I'm going to get in the ring once just to feel that fear, just to feel that anxiety, and see if I can control it. And if I can't control it, at least I had that that lesson or that experience of trying to control severe anxiety, and I would be a stronger person. I thought so. I thought it was just a step to become a stronger person, and it went one fight to another, and as you can see in my career, if you look at my opponents, I've never ever fought an opponent I thought I could beat. I thought all the opponents I chose, and the time that I chose them is when is because they're so high up now at the time that there was someone that I thought would break me. Randy Couture, I chose to fight him right after he beat Vitor Belfort, when Vitor seemed like the untouchable phenom, the 19-year-old phenom. I decided to fight Heath Hearing after he beat up Tom Erickson. I fought Nogueira when he was a Pride heavyweight champion. I fought Mark Kerr and chose to fight Mark Kerr after he beat Hugo Dorte. And I fought Igor Popochanchin after he knocked out San Francisco Buenos with one punch knockout. And I just saw, when I saw those guys fight, I thought, these are the guys that's going to push me to the point of fear and anxiety that I'm going to have to learn to control.
Wow, I love that. You see, this is something I love about you and about the whole era, to be honest, is, it's
Era, yeah.
how you guys were like testing yourselves. And like you say, I mean, back then it wasn't like now where, you've got that path to like being a UFC champion, you've got the path to sponsorship. I mean, it was very much an inner thing, and it's something I just find fascinating when I hear you talk about that whole process. So, with the fear and the anxiety, then as you went through the fights with your career, I mean, obviously you fought for a lot of years as well. How was it different towards like later in your career towards like the beginning? I mean, did you feel that anxiety a lot less later on, or were you just better at handling it when it did come up by the end?
I think I got better. I did get better, but I just started choosing opponents that was even a level higher. Yeah. So I wouldn't choose anybody that I thought that wouldn't give me more strength. And the reason why after the Igor fight actually is when I really decided to retire, because I felt that what I went through in the Igor fight, my heart never broke. I never gave in to any fear. And I felt that there was no more for me to learn in the ring after the Igor fight.
Okay, I love that. I mean, I love the whole, even the integrity of the whole thing of like, you're just doing this for you, and like the money and all the other stuff. I mean, absolutely incredible. Like a whole code that you live by. I think it's amazing. Okay, so we've touched on like your gyms, your training, and some of the fights, and that was one of the big things I wanted to get across was the mentality. When we come into like some of the other things you do, though, like you said, that being the point you decided to retire, I've seen that you have a creative side as well, where you're making like these bracelets and things like that. And I just there we go, yeah, wow, yeah. Can you share with us a little bit about how that works? I mean, these are like healing crystals in there, or like changing the frequency, like the energy frequency, or how does it work with the ones that you make, please?
Yeah, it started because these bracelets are considered like a protection in Japan. So the people in Japan would wear them, and if the bracelet ever breaks, that means it took something that was bad, something bad that was supposed to come to you. It took it for you and broke. And the funny thing is, I got one as a gift, and one day I crashed my Mercedes Benz. I had a fat lip from the airbag. I had two airbags pop out from the steering wheel and the door. I had a fat lip from it, but I had no injuries, and my bracelet broke. And so from that point on, I always wanted to wear a bracelet, and I always wore a bracelet. And when I started, the next step was to protect the people that I care about. I would have like a gathering with all the people I call family, my friends that are close enough to call family, and I would buy them bracelets as presents. And one year when we were getting the gathering, the guy who used to make them for me didn't have time to make them. So he said, "Hey, Enson, I'll teach you how to make them." He taught me. I learned. Of course, that year I wasn't good enough to make for the people I cared about. So I just kept practicing. And a couple of years later, I was able to make for myself. When thought I got a little better, I decided to make for friends as gifts. And then when I thought I got a little better, I put it on Facebook. And once it went on Facebook, people wanted to order, and that's where it started. And I thought it was just protection at first. So all of a sudden, the people on Facebook that ordered, they're going to say, "Oh, hey, I want a black one. Hey, I want a clear one. I want an orange one." And I'm thinking, okay, I'll go to the store. Went to the gem store and told them, I'm telling them not by the names of the beads. I'm saying, I want an orange one. I want red color. I want blue. And the guy looks at me like, do you know these are actually real gemstones? And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, they all have properties. And that's what I was like, whoa, what do you mean properties? And he explained to me that, they some help with anxiety, some give you energy, some have different types of protection. And that's when I learned about it. And I'm not gonna try to pretend like, oh, my bracelets are healing bracelets and everything, because I personally don't really feel it. But they say the energy of the person goes into the bracelet. And I have a shop in Hawaii that I've had for about 15 years now. And my bracelets has actually become a point where they're known for its healing. And so people who come in don't come in for looks or for a jewelry, a beautiful jewelry. They come in all for the properties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I mean, I believe in this kind of thing as well. I'm a very spiritual guy in a balanced way, and I've actually got something here. It's not as big as yours, but
What is that? Blue tiger's eye.
yeah, that one is, yeah, this one today, which I felt was
Protection. Good luck. Yeah.
um for you. I was gonna put a red one on a different stone, and I felt I know I had blue, so I kind of go with the instinct there. But yeah, I've got loads of them. I mean, your ones are bigger than most of the ones I've got, and the stones are wrapped nicer. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. Okay, so that was something because I just love like the spiritual side, the creative side. Even though you're like one of the toughest guys around, you've also got like the creative and the spiritual side, which I think is cool. But there's another thing though that comes up because when you're saying there about protection and about like managing the energies, there's another thing that in my mind links back to what you were saying just now about managing the fear because I've come across, if you don't mind me asking about this, you mediating and doing like things with the Yakuza guys over there, and I've come across that you like help them out and you like broker deals or sort out problems or whatever you do with them. And I know that those are definitely guys who live by a code as well. So I'm saying this without judgment, but it's also in my mind links to what you were saying earlier about the fear and overcoming the anxiety and stuff. Because dealing with those guys, those types of serious guys, dealing with like some of the problems that come up in that world. Maybe it's a different way of managing fear and anxiety, or maybe it has a different meaning to you. But do you mind sharing a little bit about that, Ensign? Because I must admit, I'm curious. Other people are curious about it and what it means to you. But again, it's what it means is like the philosophy of, why you're involved inside yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's not something I plan to do. It's just because of my fight style and because of the person that I am and the way the road that I walk in. I call it the Yamato Damashi way of living. I get a lot of respect from a lot of the underworld people. And with the respect, because of my reputation where I don't take shit from anyone, there's fear also involved. And I found out that fear and respect are a very good combination to be able to mediate problems. So I would have a family come to me, and I was really well known, or I still am really well known right now in Japan because of my status as fighting, and I was the so-called modern day samurai, and the yakuza are very intrigued with samurai, and they're very intrigued with someone who's has that toughness, and so because I'm well known, I have a family to come to me and tell me about a problem, like said, a $200,000 debt that they can't get back from someone who owes it to them. And majority of the time, I'd say 80% of the time, I know of the person they're dealing with, or I know someone from the same family. If I don't know anybody in that family or I don't know that person, it's really hard for me to mediate because I'm coming in as an outsider saying, hey, I want to talk to you about the money you owe to this family. But whenever I think 80% of the time, I've always had some type of connection or a link. And I'd call them, find out, and we'd sit them down together. And because of the respect and the fear they had of me, the meetings would go good. And what would actually happen is I would hear both sides out, and then I would make the final decision. And if I thought that the family that owed the 200,000 got to pay it back, I would tell them that what you guys did was wrong, and I think you guys should pay them back as soon as possible. And it's funny because I did those types of mediations. I'd say over 8 to 10 years, and I've never once was a family that went against my decision.
Wow. That's the level of respect you have, you see. I mean, this is something I totally understand the mindset, why they're drawn to you and how you get involved. But again, it's testament to the whole thing that we're talking about today, living by the code, living the right way, doing the right thing. Like you said earlier, doing the right thing isn't always easy. You said that earlier. I mean, I totally understand the connection. I have to ask though as well, I mean, what are of the stuff you can talk about, which isn't definitely going to be everything, is there like a crazy story that you can share from that world, or one of those negotiations, maybe where it hasn't gone smoothly? Please don't say anything that gets you in any trouble. But if there's something you can share freely, that would be really cool, please, Ensign. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Like for example, the way I live my code is you keep your word and you do as you say. You don't break promises and you don't do anything behind someone's back if you consider them friends or family. And there was a Yakuza guy that did something like that to me. And I actually called him to come and talk to me. And back in the day, I believe I was a little wild where come talk to me meant you might get beaten up too. And so, of course, that guy, when he heard that he had to come talk to me because I was not happy with something he was doing, he avoided me. And one day, he avoided for like almost 8 months. And one day I found out where he was. And I drove over there and I had my students, I had them go get him from that. He was at a party, grab him from the party and pull him out to this park we were nearby. And I guess when my students went to get him and said that Enson wants to see you, the people that he were with got worried. And in Japan, the underground has a real fast grapevine. So there was calls made, and when the guy came to the park, I started, I'll call it just spanking him for being bad. And I mean, if I were to hit him and he falls to the ground, I would stand him back up. But wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just trying to make him learn a lesson. And then it went on for 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes, there was it was funny because we had to move parks because one of the old ladies in the community started screaming out the window, "He's be quiet." And I don't know if she knew what was going on, but we were thinking like all she needs to do is call the police and then this is over. So we decided to move parks. We moved over to the next park. And we went to the next park. Right before I started beating him again, three guys came out from the bushes. Like, I mean, I always explain it like monkeys coming out of the forest. They came out pissed off, and I looked at him, and it was one of the guys' bosses. So you going higher up in the chain now. I had my students confront them. I mean, our students confronted them, and they were screaming at me because their guy was standing there all bloody, and they said that, "Why are you doing that to him?" And they wanted to, I guess, 3-on-1 me. Yeah? And I told them, hey, let me just say one thing. If you guys think that I'm still wrong, if you guys still want to say, quote unquote, go to war, we can do that. But can you listen one thing first? And they said, yeah. And I said, if you thought somebody backstabbed you or did something behind your back, but you only punished them 20% of what you wanted to, don't you think that's being kind? And they looked at me and said, "What are you talking about? 20%? Look at his face. He was all bloody." And I told them, "Well, I've been beating up for 20 minutes." I said, if I really wanted to hurt him, how fast do you think I could probably kill him?" And they looked at me. I said, 20 minutes, man. I only did 20%. And that big boss guy, just his whole demeanor changed. And he said, "Whoa, you know what?" He said, okay, I understand now, but can you stop? I said, "Well, I kind of did what I wanted to do." And he said, "If you stop now, if he does anything more to you like that again, I'll kill him myself for you." And that ended the problem. And the funny thing is, the guy who came out from the bushes, I'm still really good friends with him today.
Wow, there you go. You see, code of honor. I mean, I think that illustrates, not only, um, like, yeah, okay, it's a cool story being involved in the world, but it illustrates you. It illustrates the way you live and your soul and your code. And I think that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, I respect that very much for what it's worth to say that, because in this day and age, you don't get a lot of people who live by a code. So it's a very, very powerful thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, cool, very very cool story as well. I mean, it's behind the scenes and it's something you don't hear every day. So the last couple of things, Ensign, the last couple of things, and we'll wrap up soon so you can get some rest. I mean, obviously you mentioned earlier that like you were doing this very much for the inner reason, and you're doing this to test yourself and push yourself and overcome fear. But you did become very very famous. You are very famous today. People know about you all over the world. So I suppose a fairly simple question in a way, but how you respond, or what it means to you to get the respect not only from guys like that, serious guys, but just the fact that you've got fans and you've got love from people all around the world as a fighter. But like you were saying there, because of the way you fought and because of the way you conduct yourself and the way you continue to conduct yourself, you've got that respect all around the world from people, even if they haven't met you in person or even if they've only seen you fight. So basically, what does that mean to you? Because you said earlier, obviously, you never set out to do that, and it kind of happened. One fight led to another, and all of that. So, but obviously, it has happened. So, what does it mean to you to be as famous and as respected as you are? Basically, I mean, that's the question.
Well, what it is I was really lucky because I got famous and very respected, not trying to be. I just doing what I did naturally, never giving up, fighting to the end. It's just not what I did. I got lucky. What I did naturally appealed to people, and I got a big fan base because of that. I still have. I've been retired for years, and I still get approached in the like even today when we went to the event, I get approached, I get pictures taken, and what I found, the fame that I got, I never did, like I said, I never seek fame or riches. But what happened was the fame that I got, what I learned is me being famous wasn't to make money, to get a belt, or to have a lot of sponsors and be in a big house with a nice car. My fame helps me help people. I've been to North Japan over 60 times after the big earthquake, tsunami, nuclear disaster. The only reason why I could go up there was because of who I am. I actually went into the zone we call it the zone. It's the exclusion zone where the radiation's too high. They have check marks so you can't go in. I went in there 4 times because of who I am. If it was just Enson Inoue, I wouldn't be able to get in. But because I was the MMA fighter Enson Inoue, I had people who could get me in. Like for example, the other about 8 years ago, there was a big earthquake that happened in Kumamoto where apartments collapsed. People were living in parking lots because they had no food. And at that time, right there, you can't really travel down there because there's so much chaos, and they don't recommend people to go down there. But I went through all the checkpoints because I was in Illinois, and I could help those people because of my fame. So I really feel like my fame is actually something that is given to me so I can help people. And even my bracelet business, I'm just lucky that somehow my bracelets help heal people. And the only reason why people want to buy bracelets from me is because I'm the mixed martial arts in Illinois with the fighting spirit. And the guy who makes the bracelet, the spirit of the person goes into the bracelet. And my bracelets are real popular in Hawaii, especially now. And I think it's because of my fighting. And because of my fighting, there's a lot of customers. And because of that, I'm helping heal a lot of people. So I believe my fame was all about being able to help other people.
Absolutely, yeah. I love that. I mean, this is something that I definitely agree. I mean, it's what you represent as a person, you know, that's, yeah, that's like what I was saying earlier, the way you conduct yourself, the way you carry yourself, but also like the ethos, the meaning behind what you do, the principles that you represent, basically, you know, just by walking around, you know, just by being yourself. And yeah, I mean, you were saying earlier about the samurai spirit, and obviously you definitely have that. I mean, you know, you'll have a much deeper understanding because you've lived it, because you live in Japan and all of these things. But I've read some of this stuff like the Hagakure and some of these things about the samurai, and you definitely embody. You know, you seem to embody that, and that's very very cool. I mean, it's something that the world needs. Now, one of the other things, Anson, that I have to mention here is that we've spent a bit of time looking backwards, but also when it comes to looking forward. I mean, you're training people now and you're coaching people, you're doing these amazing things. But I'd also like to touch on something that is, I think, a very important life principle as well. Is if things are not growing or not moving forward, then they're automatically going backward. And you know, you're very much, as I've already said, passing on your knowledge and teaching these students about fighting, but about life. But my question is, what are some of your future goals or aspirations, or you know, some of the things you would like to do from here that you haven't done yet? Because you know, life is a journey, not a destination. And even though with the fighting you achieved such a like a dizzy height of that, I'm sure that there's other things you plan to do. Like a few years ago, who would have thought you'd be making the bracelets, like you said, but now you are. So
Yeah.
what's going to be like from this point forward, basically?
Well, right now, I think my mindset and my way of thinking is very unique. And I believe a lot of people, I believe the generations nowadays are getting really soft. They have life so easy. You know, they have Google Maps. They don't need to go find things. They can just order something on Amazon. When you have to learn something, you just Google it and it comes out on YouTube. Everything's so easy nowadays. I believe people are getting a lot softer. And so the when people are getting everything so easy, they don't need that strong mindset, that mindset of the warrior. And I believe the mindset that I have, even in this day and age that people are getting, you notice there's a lot more people with ADHD. There's a lot more people with mental illnesses now. I mean, back in our day, it was hardly ever heard of. So I believe that my way of thinking can help people in life. And what of course, I said, I think my mission in life is to help people. And this is another place where I'm branching off right now, where I'm training students now because I'm not only training in martial arts, I'm training them in life. And through the hard training of martial arts, they're learning how to get discipline. They're learning how to overcome pain, overcome fear, overcome anxiety. And the other thing besides training people is I've started a YouTube channel where it's not something that I'm trying to make money on, but I'm trying to just get my word out. And I also wrote 2 books for the same reason. That's to get my word out, and so people can understand me. Because if you look at my fights and you look at what some of my interviews, saying this guy's a little crazy, he's not afraid of dying. What's up with that? But I'm just like everyone else. I am afraid of dying, but I have a different mindset on dying. The reason why I didn't tap in the ring isn't because I'm tough or I can overcome pain. Is because I had a certain mindset going into the ring that made me not tap. I mean, something like that is real simple to explain. Is I was prepared for the 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 most thing that could happen is death. So if your arm's breaking, if you're getting choked out unconscious, it's not something you're gonna tap out of. If I'm going in the ring trying to just win the fight and worrying about, okay, I don't want to get paralyzed or I don't want to get too hurt. If my arm starts breaking or starts getting choked, I might freak out. But I was preparing for death. So that is something so simple, like just that type of mindset. I mean, you can use it in life. That depending on your mindset, it really changes you. It really changes the way you have an outlook on life. I mean, I went to prison just recently, and thinking that, oh shit, I might face 6 years in prison. But if I dwell on that, like I want to get out now. I miss my home. I miss my wife. I want to get out now. But then I look and I read the Nelson Mandela book when I was in prison, and I was like, holy shit, he spent 20. How many? It was 20 something years in prison, or even more than that. I think it was.
27, I think it was.
Yeah, like whoa, and I'm thinking,
Yeah,
and I'm crying about 6 years. So that mindset, I was like, okay, wait a minute, you're not that bad, you know. So I believe the things I've learned in my life, the experiences I had, the mindset, the way I handle problems, the way I handle anxiety. I think a lot of people could learn from it. And that's what I think is my next thing, is getting my YouTube channel big enough that I can reach out to enough people to help them, you know, not just learn about who I am and my mindset, but take things from it that they could use in their life.
yeah. Well, I agree 100%. I mean, as you can tell from, for what it's worth, what I've been saying all the way through this is that message, or more than a message. I mean, that embodiment that you have, in the sense that you literally live by these every single day. Yeah, I mean, the world needs it. People need it. And as you were saying earlier, these things like anxiety and things like that, it's an epidemic now. I mean, these things are really big problems. So people need what you have, and what you represent. I will mention that very briefly as well. Yeah, the prison thing. I mean, I saw reports of that, and I did see things. But how long were you in there, if you don't mind me asking, Ensign?
I was in there for only 99 days.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
okay, the reason, if I get in more detail, the reason I got arrested is because in the law of Japan, I smuggled narcotics into Japan. So I was looking at 6 to 10 years. And to get into the more detailed points, what they consider narcotics is psilocybin, which is a stimulant that's naturally in magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
And in America, it's legal. What it was chocolates that I got that was had microdoses of magic mushrooms in it, and it was medicinal, 100% medicinal. It was for my body pains, and I knew it was illegal in Japan, but I guess through knowing that it was medical, and when I was in Hawaii for a month, I was eating it in Hawaii, and it was taking away my bad pains. Um, I wasn't seeing the rim spin. I wasn't seeing hallucinations. It was all about the pain. Tasted
Yeah.
like chocolate. I ate it, felt nothing, and just noticed 20 minutes later, my back pains melted away. And I just thought, wow, this is a medical thing who might be illegal in Japan, but you know what? They're not going to catch it. I'll just bring it in. And that was my big mistake, is thinking, kind of laughing at the law, thinking, yeah, they won't catch me, being stupid like that. And so, yeah, I got caught bringing it into the airport, and was arrested straight out the airport, put into prison. Yeah, right away. And like I had no visitations. I stayed in the cell. That 99 days I learned so much about myself. I read 51 novels. I ended up working up to, before the 2 weeks before I came out, I ended up doing 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, and 1,000 squats every day.
Wow.
Yeah, and as far as I believe, it was such a roller coaster ride, because thinking that I'm 57, I'm going to be in jail at least 6 to 10 years. I'm thinking, I'm going to get out close to 70. How depressing is that? With that whole roller coaster, man. I feel confident saying that no matter how bad things got, I didn't think I might be able to see my dogs again, because my dogs would have passed by then. No matter
Um,
how bad it got, when you're in that cell by yourself, and all of these thoughts in your head, it can almost put you to depression. And
yeah.
as down as it got, and as sometimes it got real heavy in my heart. I'm happy to say that heaviness never lasted over a couple hours. I've always found a way to set my thinking back, set my mind, and make myself be okay.
That's good. I mean,
I
that
got
is
a
good.
lot in there.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. No, that is a wonderful life lesson again. I mean, crazy experience, wonderful life lesson. And yeah, I mean, that chemical that you were talking about there, I know what you mean. A good friend of mine was a veteran in Iraq and Afghanistan, used that to help. the PTSD a lot, and to heal himself from PTSD from like
Yeah.
having the facts, but like the full body, because you know PTSD is not really mental as such. I mean, it's more in your nervous system, even though you're having a flashback. And he used it. I know a few people have used it medically, like what you're saying there with body pain. So, yeah, but I mean that lesson of being in there. And in Japan, I know, like with the law, with prisons, with any of that stuff, do not mess about. So to be in there, I mean, it's some serious thing. But again, it's testament to your mental strength and your stoicism and your fortitude. You know, all these things that we've been talking about. But Ensign, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I really hope that you continue spreading the message as much as you can, and you continue to teach people, and you continue to pass on these things, and just lead by example, really, and I'm sure
To the
that you,
day I die. To the day I die.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, I support that all the way, and anything else I can ever do, please know that I will do. And yeah, I will say to everybody, check out the YouTube channel, guys. To our audience, check out the books. What's your channel called? Because you're speaking. I've seen some broadcasts of yours, but yeah, can you tell us just where people can plug into it, and then I'll let you go to chill out
Yeah.
and enjoy.
It's called the Yamato Damashi channel. I'll send you a link to it.
Yes, please.
As
Yeah,
far as anything you can post for me is the link to my YouTube channel. We talk about my fights. We talk about a lot of my mindset things. And then my bracelets also have the website that you could reach out to me. It's all me and my wife looking at every comment, every message. So
yeah,
yeah, I'll those two. Yeah, but yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook as Enson Inoue, and you guys
abs-
can reach out to me anywhere there. If I mean, the thing is with me is I believe fans are important because the fans made me who I am. If it wasn't for fans, I wouldn't be famous. I wouldn't be who I am. So I take my time
yeah,
out to fans. If fans want to talk, ask questions to me, if anything they need, they're having a hard time and they want to reach out, they just send me a DM and I'll be the one answering and personally talking to them.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was something I was going to mention actually just now at the end. Is yeah. I mean, obviously you're 100% authentic. You keep it real, and I love that in the sense that when you reach out, it's actually you that's answering because. I reach out to a lot of people. I mean, I've done over 400 of these. We haven't even got
Oh,
into. I reach out to a lot of people, and it's something where talking about consistency, and I just keep building it up. And even though I've got other businesses and other things I do as well, but I just keep building it up in the background. And yeah, I know that we've tried to connect a couple of times because, but obviously I was moving countries and so many
yeah.
things in, and I think it's been like several years on and off that we've
Yeah,
talked. So
it has. Yeah.
finally be here because I think we tried 2020, and I think there was something going on. I think on your side more with maybe something like tonight where there were things happening. Then I cancelled a couple of times because I was moving, and it's just been back and forth. And it's like, man, to finally be here today is very cool. And I gotta say, I'm looking at this thinking, man, it's like my own tenacity to, finally got there with you. But anyway, yeah, the fact that you're authentic and the fact that you do actually give people the time of day to answer them, help them, point them in the right direction. Love that. So I will say, everyone, please do reach out to Ensign if you've got any relevant requests there. Also, yeah, send me those links and I'll put them in the video as well, please. I just put them like so when we're talking now, come over on the top there, and people can find that. So if it draws even a few more eyeballs to what you're doing, then like we said before, people need it. But yeah, I just hope that today we've helped to um, spread the message a little bit more. I mean, I
Thank you.
believe that that's why I wanted to do it. I mean, I know that everything you've achieved as a fighter is incredible, but it's what you represent as a human being. It's deeper than that. If you get like everything we've talked about today, and that's why I've been wanting to talk with you for so long. So yeah, absolutely. I can't really bow here because I'm holding this on the phone, but I'll sort of bow as best I can.
Okay, okay.
And
I got you.
really appreciate your time, and yeah, you just have a great evening, and I will send this to you when I release it. It's the only other thing I would be grateful for a reshare if you wouldn't mind to just to repost it in your story or something when I put it out. That's always nice. Obviously I promote it my side, but anything like that would be great. I'll push it around
Send me
every.
the link. Share it on my social media.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you so much. Because obviously I do 90% of it my end, but it's always good to. It's always nice to have that. And yeah, I just hope that I'm a big believer that people listen to these at the right time for them. The good thing about a podcast, like we put this out today, and you get some views and some listens, but then somebody 5 years from now who's having some trouble or needs an answer to
Mhm.
something to it, and that's the right time for them. They might not be ready today, but then that's the beauty of putting something like this out there is people are drawn to it at the right time for their soul experience, their
I,
growth. So
yeah.
my view. Anyway, thank you again, taking time out of your evening. Wonderful to finally meet you. Absolutely, absolutely awesome. And and before you go, that is one of the things. I'm just going to take a picture of us, so I can post it and just say that the interview is coming soon, and to keep an eye
Okay.
out. Okay. So we're just going to do that. There we go. And plus, if I was with you in person, I would get a picture anyway. So there, there it is. But anyway, yeah. Thank you, Enson. All the best, brother. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Take care. Bye
Take
now.
it easy.
Bye bye. Take it easy. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.